Thank you. Oh my God, I do this all the time. I've been streaming for almost a year now. Did you know that? And I
No.
still do things like that, especially with mute. It's fine.
Well, it's hard because like we're talking and like, we hear
Mm-hmm.
each other. But
Yeah, we could hear each other. Um, what?
also, I love your follow gif. I think I might have told you that already, but that's so funny.
Thank you. I tried to do all bird themed ones. My, f-
Literally every time I see a bird tweet on Twitter, I'm like, Rufio, and Dan is like already friggin' said something to you about it.
I
It's like, dang
appreciate
it,
it.
Dan.
Please tag me in all the parrot videos or
So is
parrot
it
stuff.
just parrots or is it birds?
It's mostly parrots. Birds too. They're just a little less cool than parrots because they're not as smart. Like parrots can
Okay, that's
talk
fair.
and dance and things like that, and like a songbird would just
Yeah,
like sing.
tweet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
tweet. Yeah.
fair enough.
So okay, so the second part of stream is React. I have never done React on stream before.
Ooh.
No,
How much
that's
React have you done,
that's it.
actually?
So in January I started the job
Hmm.
hunt, and this company was like, okay, so here's a take home. We need you to use React and make it like a GitHub search something using the GitHub API. And I was like, oh
Okay.
my God, I don't even know React. So I did half a Scrimba course, and
Okay, perfect.
then I lied when I said we'd never done React on stream before. We were on stream for 9 hours working on that. Um, thanks for sub Turner. Um, and I didn't get it done, and I turned it in, and then they were like, sorry, we couldn't see enough about your coding skills to
Uh,
go any further. And I was like, you know what? Okay, whatever. But like, that's about it. I haven't touched it since then.
okay.
React is trash. Please use MySpace. You're right. Is MySpace still a thing? Like, is it on the internet still? Do people use it?
It's gotta be.
You know what? I'm looking it up.
Yeah, it has
MySpace.
to be.
Oh, yeah, it totally is.
Wow.
And it looks fairly newish or like responsive. I'm not going to log in,
Wait,
but
really?
yeah, you can sign into MySpace with Facebook, which is
Oof.
like Meta? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know if I like that.
MySpace is a music service. It does say at the bottom that it has stuff about music. So like the OG website is gone then.
Oh, that's so sad.
Probably can find it in the web. I don't remember what it's called. The web. You go back in the
Wayback
web.
Machine?
That one.
Yeah,
I was about to
I
say.
literally just used it today.
I was gonna say the web goer backer. So Wayback
Yeah, same
Machine
thing.
works a little better than what I was
They
saying.
may as well just buy that domain. Yeah, webgoerbacker.com. Actually, I'm gonna look right now. Is that domain available?
If
No one in
not,
chat.
next project.
Webgoerbacker.com. It is available for $13.99 on Hover.
Wow, we could buy that.
Chat, do your thing.
Web goer backer.
Just gotta redirect right to Wayback Machine.
You know, yesterday I was playing Lara Croft with my sister, and I was like,
Oh, nice.
I don't know exactly what I was saying. And I was I, like, I was shotten. And then I was like, wait a second, that's not a word. And I was like, is shotten a word? And she's like, no, but I understood what you meant. And I think that's one of the coolest things about like English is like you say shot. It's not like gotten, which is where I mixed it up, but like it makes sense still. Anyway, shotten.
I yeah. Oh, English.
Oh, English. But React. So yes, that
Yeah.
is about my experience with it.
Okay.
And then Bull who's in chat did we did like a little Google Meet together, and they explained it to me, and then I forgot it, and sorry about that. So, like I've had like a couple exposures to it. I've never
Hmm.
really used it though.
Okay.
So, I mean, for those who have even less knowledge than I do about React, like what is React and why would you use it over, let's say, like plain JavaScript?
Yeah. So, admittedly, I'm fairly new to the React world as well. I'm a Vue and Svelte developer primarily, but React seemed fun, so we've been learning it on my stream for last couple of months or so.
Oh.
And React is a user interface library that lets you do a couple of things, but its primary purpose is for building user interfaces, right? Like it is literally there to make building UIs easier, and you can do a lot with React. At the end of the day, it sits on as like a layer on top of the website you build. I know this is not technically true, so people who love React in chat, forgive me, but it basically sits on as a layer on top of your website to interact with things, whether that thing is the user or external APIs. And eventually the server, because React server components are a thing, but we won't touch that with the 10-foot pole tonight. Basically, it lets you interact with stuff much easier than doing the typical JavaScript, like document get element by ID and then add event listener, then do this thing, that thing. It gives you a nice, depending on how you like React, I suppose, a nice interface to build these reactive components and add some interactivity to your website that would normally be a little more tricky. I also really like the fact that it breaks things into components. I just said a second ago, but making it so that I can componentize. Sorry, I'm using the word component a lot. All of my front end logic into reusable bits and pieces is so nice. It's incredibly convenient because then if I have, maybe it's a bad example, but say I have like a side by side section, right? So on a desktop, you have a left side and a right side. I could just componentize that side by side section, and then wherever I want to use it in my app or on my site, I could just reuse the same component over and over and over again. And then when I change how the component works, it changes across the whole site. It's really similar to how you would use functions in JavaScript. And that's because at the end of the day, a React component is a JavaScript function that just gets called, and magic happens in the React engine that gets shipped to the user's browser.
When I started learning React, one thing I thought about it, I was like, you know what? React is kind of like in a way, and don't at me for this, everyone, like the baby of like front end and back end. It's for front end, but once you learn like back end development, it makes a lot more sense because it kind of like, I feel like follows that sort of development more. Does that sound right?
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying. And I think even more, again, I really don't have the qualifications to touch much on this, but even more with the idea of React server components becoming a thing, you're actually writing server rendered code in React. So your analogy is even more correct than you might think. And then you have React meta frameworks like Next.js, for example, where you actually write backend code in your React app. So you're pretty much hitting the nail right in the head. And I think having come from a back end server side background, I find React, the idea of componentizing and reusing and all the functional stuff just a little bit easier than I think I would if I had approached it from the other end. But that's not saying you can't do it. Like, obviously, it's very possible.
Wow.
Good timing.
Someone asked what the difference was between React components and web components. I actually don't know. I don't know what web components are.
So web components are similar to React. React components, that is. Web components are usable ideally across multiple frameworks. So there's a whole JavaScript web components API to be able to bundle up your just normal JavaScript code into components and reuse those across your non-React, non-Vue, non-Svelte sites. But the cool thing is, if you build, say, like a date picker as a web component, the idea is that whether you're making an Angular app or a Svelte app or a React app, you can import and use that web component because it's just JavaScript, right? You don't have to ship a web component's runtime because the JavaScript engine already includes that. Whereas with React and Vue and Angular, you actually have to ship the JavaScript runtime the React runtime, the Vue runtime, whatever, in order to like render all the stuff on the front end, because it uses something called a virtual DOM, which we can go into later. The only one that doesn't, as far as I know, out of those ones, the only one that doesn't, ship a runtime is Svelte, because Svelte is more of a compiler than a runtime, but it's a nuance that doesn't really matter. Basically, web components baked right into the browser for the most part.
So, what are they written in? Is it like JavaScript or just whatever?
Yeah, so it's JavaScript, and they have, let me see if I can, web component. So to me, they have the world's most confusing API. They are, here, Chad, if you want to take a look, this is the Mdn Docs. Basically, it's just JavaScript. Like at the end of the day, it's just plain Jane vanilla JavaScript that you can then decorate with these little goodies that the Web Components API gives you to make something that kind of feels like a React component or a Vue or a Svelte component. So pretty cool. There is, I think it's called Lit, is the Web Components framework. Chat, y'all might know more than me. I believe there's something called Lit that lets you build web components more easily. And then some frameworks, I think SvelteKit does this out of the box, and others I'm sure do as well. They can actually, SvelteKit can actually take a Svelte component and turn it into just a generic web component, which is really cool, because then you can use it wherever you want.
I don't think this is part of the current slang in like the US, but do you remember when lit was slang? Did the person who made the lit thing was like, yeah, when we use this, we can be like, let's get lit, or like, this is lit, you know? I feel like mad respect if that's actually what they were going for, because like I totally would do that.
Yeah, I was never that cool, so.
I definitely said lit. I haven't for a long time, but I'm gonna say it now. This stream is lit.
Yeah, super lit and stuff. You know what the youths are saying.
Youths.
All the youths. Polymer was a big one as well. Yeah, I haven't ever used it, but Polymer was a big web components framework library. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think Next.js can be used completely instead of having a separate backend language, Shaw says?
Absolutely. Not to bring this all the way back around, but I actually think Ping, that Twitch thing that lets you co-stream, I'm pretty sure it's full built on Next.js. Don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure, but it definitely can be used, because it's what you're essentially doing is you're just taking a React project and just smacking Node.js onto the framework and letting you do server-side backend stuff. Were I to build a Next.js project, I would probably just use Next.js for the front end, and I would use Laravel for the backend API, because that's what I'm more comfortable in. But yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't build a full stack app in Next.
I don't know what Next is. Like, that is something I actually have never touched. Is it just like something that you can use that utilizes React?
Yeah, so it's what's called a meta framework. I don't know if that's actually the real decided upon name for those sorts of things, but it seems what the community's gone with. And basically, it takes React and adds things that React doesn't have typically out of the box in a very opinionated way. So, for example, with Next.js, you actually get the ability to statically generate pages, so pre-render everything, so you're not actually shipping a ton of JavaScript for those pages. You can do server-side rendering, where it's as if all this sort of stuff happens on a server, which is really good for things like e-commerce, because for a lot of them, you have to run that logic on the server side for security reasons. And then you can just render stuff on the client side like you would normally call an API from a React component. So it gives you the ability to do that really easily in a pre-built framework. That's actually what I'm using right now on my stream to rebuild my personal site, because I want it to be statically generated. So we're just using Next.js for that.
Awesome.
It's very cool. It also makes routing kind of nice, because instead of having a whole routes file where you have to say like, if this route happens, go to this file. If this route, it's literally just file system. So if I have, an about.tsx file in my pages directory, if I go to my website /about, it just goes to that React component. Like, it just pulls that page up. So there's no extra weird configuration needed. It's kind of nice.
The point of Next.js is for you to focus on writing React components with server-side rendering. Huh.
Server side or statically generated, I think I would say. And actually, I think statically generated is kind of what. So Vercel is the company that develops Next.js. They're really leaning into the statically generated thing because they have this thing called incremental static regeneration, which, to put it very simply, says, hey, like if people visit the site for 30 minutes, give them this statically generated version, and then after 30 minutes, regenerate the file and then serve them the new one. It's so if your content changes somewhat frequently, but not like every request frequently, you can serve up a faster experience to a lot of users. And then just one user gets stuck with the bag where it has to regenerate the whole thing and then send it to them. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Getting a little deep in the weeds, but it's really cool. That is probably how I will write React apps going forward, just in general, because I really like it.
But tonight, not tonight.
Yeah.
We don't have enough time. Maybe in a future stream.
Yeah, definitely.
So like you said, like React is like components. It lets you, I can't remember who told me this or if I read it somewhere, but like the idea is just to have parts of your page be able to reload because they're kind of like in their own like bundle. So like this can reload while this one doesn't, and it just makes pages more responsive.
Yeah. So one of the cool things about React and really front end frameworks in general is that they give you more of a feeling of using like an app on your phone where the whole thing doesn't like go blank while you're fetching the next thing, right? So if you're on I mean, even like think about your messages app on your phone, right? When you're on the list of all the messages you have, when you tap it, the whole thing doesn't go blank and then show the message. It just goes right to the message. Typical applications, like were I to write just a normal Laravel app with no front end framework, if I had a messages screen and I clicked on a message, it would do a full page reload. So it would have to go all the way back to the server, grab the HTML and CSS, and then come back, which is why you'll see like the little refresh icon in your browser turn into an X and the page kind of blanks out for a second and then comes in. React says, yeah, screw that. That's not going to happen. So what it does is it actually, you run these asynchronous AJAX requests to get the data from some API. And then React magically with the virtual DOM takes all that data and injects it into the page without having to do any sort of reload. Intentionally, without intentionally doing a reload. I suppose you still can if you want to, but ideally you don't. So then it feels much more like an application. So a lot of like the smooth apps that we use on the web are built in some sort of front end framework like that. You could also do it without a framework, but that's pretty uncommon.
Okay. So you mentioned something that I think is pretty big in React, the virtual DOM. Like, how does that vary from the regular DOM?
Yeah, so I am not going to pretend to be a super expert on the virtual DOM, primarily because I, even when I do use a front end framework, I use Svelte, which doesn't have a virtual DOM. But the basic idea is that React will take, they basically make a replica of the DOM that you are seeing as a user, and React will update that virtual DOM with new components, new information, whatever. And then they will take the virtual DOM and mirror that onto the actual DOM, which is when you see your data change. That is a gross generalization of how the virtual DOM works and why it's important. But that's about the depth that I have gotten to it at this point. I don't feel like it's super necessary to know that just to start building stuff, but I definitely need to like brush up and actually figure out how it works.
Okay. Is there anything you think we should talk about before we start building stuff?
I mean, I think it kind of just depends on like what you do and don't know. I don't know if there's like really a great list of things to talk about at the moment. I think as we go through, then I think we'll end up like having to talk about some stuff.
Okay. Status says, as a firm non-fan of Facebook, should I evade learning React?
So I took that approach for a long time. And I feel like at this point, even though Facebook was the creator of React, it definitely still holds some stake in it. It's so open source and so community driven that I think that the direct tie to Facebook has been pretty much all but severed. I could be wrong about that. I'm new to React, but I feel comfortable enough to use React, even though I definitely am not a huge fan of Facebook. But you know, if your conscience is like, yeah, I don't want to support anything that they support, then maybe stay away from React. But it's more community driven at this point than Facebook driven.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah. Like they don't have magical tracking code in React. Somebody would have picked that apart by now because it is open source. So I'm not super concerned about that.
Magical tracking stuff. There's no creepy Facebook things in React.
Yeah, there we go. If there were, then yeah, I would definitely stay away, but there's not.
So Coding brought up, did we already discuss state management? And I asked how like beginner friendly that is. Do you think that's something we should talk about right now?
We can kind of broadly talk about it. I don't know if it's going to be incredibly relevant as like a big feature. But basically, within React, you have to keep your state somehow. So you have to be able to, you know, if the user punches some text into a text input and then hits add to to-do list, you have to be able to tell your React app to remember the to-do text that they just punched in and where it goes in the to-do app. There are tons of ways to do that. I guess that's kind of the thing with React. There's a ton of ways to do literally everything and anything. I think that may just be as simple as we get there, we can figure it out. But just knowing that with any front-end JavaScript framework, you always have to be able to keep your own state because there's no server or database that's going to do that for you unless you are actually like sending data to an API and then rendering it back again.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, I do have a project I want to make. Do you want to see it? I only did it in Figma or whatever. So let me see if I can share the Figma thing. I feel like I've been learning more about Figma and it's good and it's also like still really confusing. You know, that's fine. But
yeah.
I'm not a designer.
I love Figma, but it's hard if you're not a designer.
Right. I'm not a designer, say as I design all my websites.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right, y'all. I'm gonna send the link to everyone, but you can only view it. I will say that it's not fully done. Like I did the what's it called? I did mobile first, and so I haven't done all of the web ones. But the idea of this site, I should probably show it on screen. Wait a second. Hold up.
Ooh, there's going to be so many little arrows.
Okay, wait a second. Here we go. All right, yeah. The idea of this is from Ship here. Okay, I can't zoom in for the life of me. Hello? There we go. Thank you. The idea was from Ship, who does SchipThatCode on Twitch. You should check out their channel. They were talking to me. I've gotten a lot of rejections lately when it comes to like the job hunt. And they were like, what if you made like a website or you like made a list or something that where you tried to get 100 rejections? And like not in the way that like you are like, yes, I'm purposely failing this interview so I can get 100 rejections. But more like if you're going to that many interviews, hopefully you won't ever get 100 rejections because you'll get a job before that. So that was the idea of the website. And as it is right now, like the front page it has 100 stars. And like the idea is that you would click the star and if it's yellow, then that's a rejection. And if you hover over the star, you can add a note with the company name and whatever you want to say about your experience with the company or whatever. So, like, I have several examples. This is like a legitimate one, this Fidelity one. And then it has an about page, a how it works page, and then a page where you can look at notes from for the companies and interviews you've already been to. And then I think you have to have a login, I think, just to save all of your information. So that's the website I want to make with React. And I figured React would be a good thing to do because the stars could be components, I think, and we can reuse that over and over again, and that would be pretty great.
This is awesome. I love this idea.
Thank you. Thanks, Ship. I don't think they're here, but thank you. I didn't come up with it. So, do you have any questions about it before we're like, all right, let's do this?
I mean, honestly, it seems pretty straightforward, which is awesome. I think you're definitely, and I'm sure you may have already thought about this, but you're definitely going to have some sort of like API to store all these things in a database somewhere.
Right.
But so I guess what I'm saying is it won't just necessarily be just a React app.
Right.
But this is really cool. I think this is like a fantastic project to learn React on. And like you said, there's a lot of components. There's different pages you can use. I mean, truth be told, I would like look at this, and I know I'm a little biased because I don't only ever build React apps in Next now, but like I look at this and like, this would be a really good site or app to build in Next because it's got some pages like the how it works page that will literally never change. Like that could just be statically generated. And then it's got ones that will change frequently, like the main page where you need to actually get all of the data for the stars. So totally up to you, obviously. But
I mean, like, I'm fine with doing stuff in Next as long as I understand what I'm doing as we do it, you know?
So I will say I have learned React entirely through Next. I've never actually used like Create React App or the Vite way of spinning up a React app. So the Next docs are actually really good. They actually have a whole tutorial where you read through it and they like have little quiz questions at the end to make sure you understood. So they're very good. So I don't know. I would lean towards Next, but I don't want to influence what you're going to do, you know?
I don't mind using it. I've been meaning to learn it anyway. I just didn't know if it's something I should isolate from like, okay, I learned React. Okay, here, I'm learning Next, you know?
Yeah, I think the only things that are different, like Next specific, are like how you do statically rendered pages, how you do server-side rendered pages. Other than that, I mean, it's literally just, and routing. I guess the nice thing is it puts routing in right from the get-go, so you don't have to pull in React Router and figure out how to use all that. It kind of just sets it all up for you, which is pretty nice. So I've had a great time learning React through Next. So kind of cool.
Okay, hold up. Just got to shout out the person who gave me this idea. So Michael says, weird question, is this open for anyone to try and implement just as a front-end challenge? I mean, if you want to, you're welcome to use the design. Like I'm still going to be making it, but I don't have any control over you doing so as well. Like, go for it, I guess.
It's fair.
All right, let's see. Can you use MongoDB for the DB, or would relational be better for this app?
I personally would stay away from non-relational databases. That is just me. Because you can do a lot of what a document database would do inside of relational databases now. Not everything, and there definitely are reasons to use document-based databases, but relational databases seem to be coming back into vogue pretty hard. So especially if you're prepping for like trying to get a job, knowing a relational database is probably pretty useful.
I was in an interview and I was like, yeah, I know MongoDB. And they were like, really? And I was like, yes. And they're like, I don't see many people who do. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but.
Yeah, people tend to not like Mongo. I mean, I think, again, It's not so much the tool, it's what you can produce with it. But I think it's just kind of fallen out of fashion as like document databases have like not reigned and been the only thing you ever learn. So I don't know. I don't really have an opinion. I don't use document databases, but I've seen people make really cool stuff with Mongo, and I've seen people build really bad Mongo databases. So, it just depends. So use what you're comfortable with or what you want to learn, I guess. You can take that one of two ways.
So it sounds like if we use Next, we don't have to. That's what people in chat were saying. We don't have to worry about a database. Is that?
So you don't have to. I think the database becomes very, very valuable if this is going to be used by anybody but you. Like if it's just going to be used by you, then yeah, you can save things as a JSON file and that'll be fine. You could literally just like write this data to just a file on the system somewhere. But if you're planning on having other people use this, then that can get a little sticky. So
Driftwood says, "Can you explain Next?"
yeah, so you have React. So React is a UI library. I think it's a library officially, not a framework. What Next does is it says React is super good at user interface things, and it's super bad at a lot of other things. At least out of the box. Obviously, there's like packages you can install to make it good at things. So what Next does is, hey, we're going to give you an opinionated series of packages strung together and called Next. So within Next, you have React as the user interface library. You have the Next router as the way to get from one page to another. You have, a million other things that let you do static site generation with React. That's a package you would have to pull in and logic you'd have to make yourself. You can easily pull in plugins that do things like rendering full pages from Markdown files. It just gives you the ability to do this sort of stuff out of the box instead of you having to add it on, package by package and configure it all yourself as a normal React app.
What do you think about using Firebase or Supabase? I don't know
Both
anything
are good.
about them, so.
So the Firebase and Supabase, honestly, Firebase is great for getting up and running with learning just like front end code, because then you don't have to worry about build an API and build the database and implement authentication, which is not really something I would ever recommend doing from scratch just for safety's sake. At least not until you like really know what you're doing with authentication. But Firebase can kind of take all of that and handle it for you. It's a Google product. Basically, they give you APIs to hit where you can log people in. You can store data for people in a relational database or a document database. It's really cool. It's like it's a backend as a service, I think is probably the best way to describe it. AWS has one called Amplify. I haven't heard about that one nearly as much, but it's similar apparently. Supabase is just the database. I don't think they do authentication. I could be wrong. But in the same sort of vein, they basically just give you an API you can hit to store data in the database, read data from the database, do all the databasey things. And I think it's technically a relational database, but I haven't looked too much into it. Okay. Supabase does have auth. Oh, awesome. Okay, so it does have auth. That's fantastic.
Is it free though?
I know Firebase has a free tier. I think Supabase also has a free tier. Oh, and it's a Next.js plugin. Supabase does. Let me look. Supabase pricing.
Hi, Firewall.
Hey, Firewall. Glad to see you. Both have free tiers. Fantastic. Yeah. So either can work super, super well. I know people have used Firebase traditionally in the past for stuff like this, where it's kind of a side project. And then if it ever like explodes and goes somewhere, then sure, you can like make your own backend and stuff. Because Firebase and Supabase potentially, although it's actually not super bad now that I'm looking at the pricing, but both of them can get pretty expensive as they scale. Firebase especially. Supabase seems to be a little more reasonable. But that's when you can just kind of build your own and host it for a lot cheaper. Or you're just making oodles of money and like it's just a drop in the bucket to spend $1,000 a month on infrastructure.
Everyone's to be using this page. Everyone.
Well, good.
So
better monetize it.
So could that be something I worry about, like not tonight though?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's start building this. I just
Yeah.
shared it again in chat if y'all want to build it yourself, like Michael was saying. That you do you, boo. Um, that's for the investors to worry about.
Investors to
Um,
exactly.
but for us tonight, it sounds like we're gonna go Next.js. And so in that case, I legitimately have no idea where to start. So where do you start?
Next.js.org would
Oh,
be where I would start.
that seems logical. And Next.js.org. Wow. Am I zoomed into 170%? Yes, I very much am. And
Whoa, why
then
is your font so different than mine?
I don't know. Is it because it's zoomed in like super, super, super?
No, like the actual like the React framework for production font is just different. Interesting.
I don't
Okay,
know.
whatever. Not that important. Just my squirrel brain being distracted.
Yeah, Michael. So Alex suggested learning them kind of in conjunction. So we're learning. I know a little bit of React, but we're gonna be doing that in Next, I guess, right?
Yeah. So the nice thing about Next is that it kind of just scaffolds everything for you, and we can do a lot of the learning without actually touching pretty much any of the Next stuff, which is kind of nice. Like I learned, Michael, just for context, I've been learning React, and I've learned it all inside the confines of using Next just to scaffold stuff, so I don't have to worry about setup and configuration, which are important things to learn, but not to me super important right away. But both ways are fine. Like if you want to just learn React in isolation, totally works.
And that may be something I still do, but I
Yeah,
mean, you know
definitely.
Next, and I'm here to take advantage of your knowledge. So,
I mean, yeah.
so I'm guessing we click Start Learning, or
Actually, I would go to the. So this is actually like their. I say interactive tutorial. That might be giving
or
a little too much credit, but that's where like you read through it and they have questions at the end. I would definitely recommend going back and doing that. It'll only take a couple of hours, but there's some parts you could definitely skip. Like you don't need right away. But it's a fantastic tutorial. They literally walk you through everything about Next. For our purposes, we can just go to Docs. You click on the Docs link, and it'll literally bring us to getting started.
there we go.
Yep. And then you'll see a section called automatic setup. And do you have npm installed? I assume you probably do.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you can just run that very first command, and it'll run you through a couple of prompts with questions, and then it'll install Next on your computer or a Next project.
We got a drink. I don't know if you want to drink with me, but
Oh yeah, I'll do it.
do I use JavaScript or TypeScript? Well, I mean, I have learned both of those, so I'm not sure. I guess you could also use TypeScript in this, huh? We could use TypeScript with Next and React, and then I would just be a little bit out of my element, but that would be okay. Or
It's
both.
and I was about to say, actually, that is literally what I was about to say. You could have TypeScript support in there, and then you could just write JSX files instead of TSX files.
Oh,
But if you're like TypeScript's too much to learn, then by all means just use JavaScript. It's not going to matter that much. I do love TypeScript, but I was about to say what AW was going to say. I would recommend using JavaScript for right now until you figure it out.
all right. Let me open up. I made a folder for this because I made a repo for it because I pushed the screenshots to GitHub, but, or the wireframes, whatever. I'm really not a designer, but look how fancy that looks. Can you see it? Wow.
Does look really good.
Thank you, self.
Not a designer. All right.
You can
Whatever.
actually do it with the I don't know, the Figma and put it on the
The live,
phone or
like the
whatever.
preview thing.
Yeah. There we go. Got a pause to check. Okay. So, we are following the this line, the
Mhm.
npx create. Okay, wait a second. I need to
Yep.
find the edge of my window. And I think I copied it, so there we go. I assume what is my project named? 100 reject.
Drank.
You so right. 100 rejections. Oh.
So just so you know, this is going to put this folder inside
Oh, dang it.
the folder you're in right now.
I always do that.
So what you could do, I think, is you probably could like make this and then just move all the files out. Oh, you can use dot as the name. Oh, that would be interesting.
Wait. Why would you use dot as the name?
I think if I'm understanding that correctly, it'll just say, hey, put the project in this repository right here. Like, don't put it in a subfolder, just put it where I am. Because dot means here.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I know the dot slash.
I think dot slash might do the same thing, but you can try dot, see what happens.
Floyd asked, why Mpx and not npm? I just copied the line from the docs, so.
So NPX is NPM's way of executing, we'll call them remote scripts. It does download a package and do stuff, but basically it says, hey, you don't have to do npm install create next app and then do like npm run create next app or whatever it is. It just does all that for you without you having to actually install the thing locally. It skips a step.
It didn't like me doing dot. Maybe.
It didn't.
I guess they could do the dot slash. Just.
Oh yeah.
Know if that works. Nope, I can't. It doesn't like it.
Why is it still complete about capital letters? There's no capital letters there. It's a dot.
Yes. Still hates me. Maybe it just remembers the past and won't let it go.
Yeah, you could use Control C to
And do it again. So we would do that, and then we would just say the period at the end of this?
Yeah, because actually, look, it says, please specify the project directory. So you might just be able to put period and then see what happens.
And I'm told to put it in parentheses.
Yeah, give it a whirl. Worst thing that's going to happen is we're going to make a weird directory we can just delete.
Apparently a period is a capital letter.
It says no quotes.
Just
okay, we're trying without quotes.
A dot at the end with no quotes. Yeah. Okay. Another. I still hate it. It's fine. Oh.
Why? That's not okay. Stupid.
We have to stretch, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I guess you don't have to do anything you don't want to do.
No, I'll join in the fun. Yeah, that's strange.
It doesn't like the 100, but
Oh, it's because the current directory has capitals. That's probably what it is, because NPM doesn't like capitals.
How do I rename this one? Just find on my computer and change it?
Yeah, I don't actually know how to do it in VS Code, to be honest with you.
Okay, let me do that. Of course, it's not showing up. That's fine. Everything is fine.
Driftwood Mpx is just a way to remotely execute NPM scripts without having to download them to your computer. It just skips a step.
All right, 100 little r rejections.
Blackboard, does that work in PowerShell? The move command? I know nothing about Windows computers, so I'm going to be completely nice. That's awesome. Okay, good to know.
Oh, well, I did it the old-fashioned way where I just went to like my desktop and then that and that. But now it is, well, it looks like it's the same. I just changed it.
I'm sure it just looks like it's all capital. I think VS Code just does that.
All right, let's try it again.
Likes to be difficult. Yeah. Okay, so now the period should hopefully work.
Okay, let me look at what Blackboard says now.
Okay.
Use cd ... Okay. And then MV100 dash rejection. Oh, I guess we don't need the dash. Maybe it doesn't like that. Oh, it didn't like it.
Yeah, so MV will move whatever the first thing you pass in. It'll basically rename the first thing you pass in to the second thing you pass in.
Oh,
So you've already done the renaming. Yeah.
did I just say that, or do I do a second argument?
Did you already change the file name?
I did, but it's not showing up here. So I could do it again.
Yeah, so basically the first parameter is what the name of the folder you're trying to rename is, and the second parameter is what you want to rename it to. So you do 100 dash lowercase r rejections.
Everything is fine. I don't have it open elsewhere.
Does VS Code have a cache on the gotta close VS Code?
Gotta close VS Code to do it.
Oh my gosh.
Do it on PowerShell. I did do that, Marble. I did do it in the File Explorer, and it didn't show up. All right.
I want to say VS Code's probably. I think somebody said it in chat. I think VS Code might be caching the directory. So
okay. I don't have Explorer open anymore. Everything is closed except for everything related to that is closed. File new. Oh, so I'm opening it again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is this what you came for? Are you so happy that this is happening?
Hey, listen, it's not a dev stream if you don't have problems with your environment.
With the old one opened still. Okay.
All right, so close that.
Oh, I should close it.
The choice of coding. Yeah, no kidding.
React and Next, but instead we're learning how to create a folder. I can code. I am a software engineer. Okay. And I just open it again? Okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But it still has capitalized.
Don't go from the recents. You have to.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, because that's where it's probably cached.
Damn
so
it.
you want to open a new window and then, yeah, file open from or whatever.
I have so many folders. It's fine.
Ooh, those are big folders.
I may be a little like chaotically organized and haven't opened most of those in like 6 months to like a year.
Blackboard. 6 months to a year.
Yes. No judgment, but
I'm not
definitely.
judging. It's okay. Most of my projects I definitely haven't opened in a long time.
All right, it works.
Perfect. Okay. We can try this again now.
Firewall, thank you for the bits and the sub. Parrot GIF, yeah. So apparently, like I have all of my notifications as parrot GIFs. The bits one has never worked, and I'm a little upset about that, but not enough to ever change it. So there's that.
Weird. That's sad.
Okay. Has files that could conflict because I have images.
Oh, it's because it's
I can't have those.
It's because it's a capital I images.
That would make me so mad. Okay.
And I think this is because Windows is case sensitive. So capital I images is different than lowercase I images.
Well,
I
people
think.
say that the directory has to be empty.
Oh, it deletes the.
Fine, we don't need it, I guess. Woof. Okay.
Yeah.
One more time. This is the time. I'm feeling it.
It might yell at you about the .git folder. We'll see.
It didn't.
Okay. Fantastic.
Wow.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow,
Wow.
wow, wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Okay, so it's installing React, React DOM, and Next. And ESLint.
Wow.
Wow, wow, wow.
Wow, wow, wow.
Okay.
Hey, hi. Good morning.
We've done it. It only took us 10 minutes, so we did do it.
Yeah. You're a developer now.
Thank you. Thank you. I struggle with opening files.
Yeah, you and every other person that does this job.
And then you just npm run dev?
Yeah, that is it.
Okay.
This is why I like learning with Next, because it's that easy to set up a full-fledged React product. So
Localhost 3000.
yeah, so if you pop that open in a browser, you should be good to go.
Wow.
Wow, 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 wow.
So,
Ta-da!
so now we have that. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do now?
Well, now we just build your app. It's that easy.
But React.
So, right. So let's talk really quick about the folders over there, because those are important.
Okay.
So node modules you can pretty safely ignore because that's just all your node modules.
Right.
Pages is where all your stuff happens. So inside of pages, if you pop that folder open, you'll see index.jsx. And if you open that file up, you'll see all the stuff that you just saw on the homepage.
Oh. Okay.
So you see create next app and like welcome to Next.js, all that sort of stuff. So this is how you make pages, like full, like you would write an HTML page. This is how you do it. You put it in the pages directory. You can make React components that aren't pages by adding a components directory to your root. You will probably need that if you want to make components, but you don't have to. But now if you go and you change like welcome to Next.js to welcome to whatever else you want, and you save it, you should see it change almost immediately because this is using Vite, I think. Maybe not Vite. I think it's using Vite.
Oh, it says up here.
Yeah, but it did change.
I wanted it to
SWR. You're right. It uses SWR. That is correct. Not Vite.
This is
All right,
so
is it
not
SWR?
important.
I thought SWR was
I
the
hated
data
it.
fetching library.
Oh, you know what? I know why. Just ignore me. I'm just thinking about anchor tags.
Anchor tags.
Yes. Yes. I am a fish.
I am a fish. I just love seeing that in big, bold text.
Just if anyone was wondering. I am.
So perfect. There you go. You built your application. Now you just build it right there. Done.
Driftwood wants to know if Next comes with the server side.
Yes, it does. So actually, if you pop back into that that component, or excuse me, that directory in VS Code,
The API? Is that the server side?
Yep. So if you look at API and you click on hello.js and you open that file up, this is your pretty bog standard Node.js endpoint. So if you hit, I assume it'd be, localhost whatever /API/hello, you should see John Doe get returned in the browser. SWC, that's the one. I was about to say, I thought SWR was a data fetching library. That is correct. Use SWC.
What is SWC?
Basically, it's how Next, when you make a change, you don't have to refresh the page every time. It'll just do all that stuff for you automatically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a build tool, kind of like Webpack or Vite, if you've ever used those.
Wait, is this not Express? It's the same, Floyd says.
I think it's slightly different, but I honestly couldn't tell you because it's probably been like close to 10 years since I've used Express. So not going to be super helpful with that.
Yeah, I would say like I mean, from my very poor understanding of the backend, this does look like Express.
Yeah. I mean, from what I remember, yeah, but I don't know. It's in the docs somewhere. I've never once had to write an API endpoint like this in Next. I typically do that logic in my pages because there's a function called get server side props that will actually just run some code on the server. I'm sure that there are good, very, very good reasons to do it. I just haven't.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I think for your app, you likely won't have to, but I'm not entirely sure about that either because we haven't gotten to that point yet. But you don't need to.
The API is node-based, AW code says.
Cool. Yeah, it definitely, yeah. So it's all written in Node.js. So if you know Node, you should be very familiar. But that is the pages directory. So your API endpoints are in there and all your, pages. There's more you can do with that, and we can get into that a little later. Public is where all of your public assets will go. So all like the images you use here, all of your SVGs you'll use can go in here because they just get accessed at localhost whatever / the image name. It's a pretty standard paradigm for a lot of these frameworks to have a public directory. And then styles are styles. It's where you put your styles and stuff. I am using Tailwind in mine, so I don't actually have a styles directory. I deleted it because I don't need it. But yeah.
It's so funny how fast like projects like this could get complicated. We could use Tailwind and TypeScript and Next and React. What else could we cram in there? Whatever database. Like
Yep. Test-driven development.
There you go.
I'm sure other stuff. Oh, you can put a cache in there. You can put a Redis cache in between there. You could, yeah, there's a whole mess of stuff. But yeah, so this is basically it. So if you look back at your design really quickly, I can kind of walk you through how I would think about doing this.
Okay.
So for me, I don't know why I'm like looking at stream to see your design. I literally have the file right here. So for me, I think you can see my little mouse maybe still over there, maybe not.
It says I'm the only one here still, but oh no, I see you.
Oh, hello. There you are. Perfect. Okay, so for me, sorry, I started that statement like 500 times. Each one of these, each one of these screens would be a different component in the pages directory because they're effectively different pages, right? And how we name them, what you do with them, kind of irrelevant at the moment, but that's how I would start by breaking that down, and then I would go within each page and say, okay, what components do we have we want to reuse? For me, I would, even though reuse is kind of a loose topic with this, and I'll explain in a minute, but I would pull the nav bar out into a component because we're going to use that a lot of places. I'd pull these stars out, just like you said, into a component, and probably these buttons, the back button, the add button, all this sort of stuff. You could pull those out in separate components, just the button component with an icon. There's a lot you could do. And then if you really wanted to, I tend to do stuff like this because I like it, but you don't have to. I would pull like this header text out to a component. So that way it's the same across every page. Obviously you don't have to do that, but again, I enjoy doing that.
You could do that and then change the text.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the cool things about components is that you can say, here, like, if let's just say that this would be an H1, right? About, or how it works. We'd say like page header, and you could make that component be an H1 with all sorts of styles on it. And you could say, whatever I pass in between the page header component tags, opening and closing tags, just spit that out into the component, just like you would normally write it. It's really cool. We can show that really quick, but short answer, yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, just I'm gonna interrupt you pretty quick. I know that this is about the time that you were going to leave. Is that something you'd still like to do?
I'll stick around for a little bit longer. I want to like get a component up and running with you first. I don't want to just like be like, good luck, kick you to the deep end of the swimming pool.
I don't want to keep you if you have stuff to do. So, like,
just sleep. So it's all good.
Okay. All right.
Good old Eastern time zone.
Think of components like a cookie cutter template and your props as your favorite icing. Sour cream.
That's so good. I'm absolutely stealing that. That's such a good explanation.
Sour cream icing. I know that's not what we're talking about, but buttercream is disgusting.
Wow, that's a hot take. Oh my gosh.
It is. It's really gross. I'm really picky about frosting though. Okay. Anyway, we're talking about components and not frosting. So that's
Yes, right. Um, honestly, I think I'm trying to think like what the best place to start would be. Like not having a ton of React experience. I think just one of the static pages,
okay.
like about or how it works, would be a great place to start because then we could just get comfortable with like writing JSX and putting some props in and just, seeing how this whole thing kind of works.
And JSX is where you can basically write React within like HTML, right?
Other way around.
Oh,
But
other way
yes,
around.
it's where you can write HTML inside of your React.
Okay.
But yeah, so basically what ends up happening with a component is just a JavaScript function, but it's a JavaScript function that returns JSX. And JSX is just HTML with a couple special rules, but you can pass all sorts of JavaScript stuff into it, which is really cool. And then that is what gets rendered to that virtual DOM we talked about a little bit earlier.
Okay.
So we could do that in practice because just talking about it's kind of not super intuitive.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to start by making this about the about page?
DS. I'm gonna share this
Okay.
again because I need to take it off my screen so I can see it. There you go. And then I'm gonna take it over here, and then we'll put away the fish. That is not a sentence I think I ever thought I would say. Put away the fish and make a file called about.js, or should it be more specific?
About is perfect. I think .jsx is
.jsx.
typically the paradigm. So JSX, usually if you have an X, either TSX or JSX, that's saying, hey, this file is going to return JSX.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And then, do they have like a template for us to grab or anything?
So, I mean, I'm sure they do. But really, so React, all you have to do is, let me see if I can.
Do you want to jump? Do you want me to share this project with you? I can say words like live share.
Yeah, if you want to, that's totally fine. But basically, you just grab that export default function, whatever, and that kind of is your template. Gotta pull up in VS Code. Gotta dust that puppy off.
Last time you did it was when you were streaming with me, I think.
That's literally the last time I did it.
Okay.
It's okay.
I think I have to have this part, right? The export default function home return.
Yep. So the export default function, whatever, is what React uses essentially to say, hey, this is a component. Obviously, you would change the name home to probably about in this case, or whatever else your component's going to be named. But yeah, that's exactly it.
Nice. Need to close that. And that.
Code for the web. I don't know. I didn't really want it on the web. Kind of wanted to just like, oh, there we go. Haha, perfect.
VS Code for the web.
It's kind of the last thing I want.
What was it even doing? I think I was trying to look at this as a reference. I remember this very, very slightly, like React-ish. So like you have to do everything in. Normally you have to do that in HTML anyway. I'm trying to see where this is different. The head thing is different.
Yep, the head thing is Next specific. That basically just lets you put like meta tags and stuff that would go in your HTML head on a page by page basis. Don't have to worry about that too much right now.
All right. So when I'm writing this HTML, do I have to do anything special when I'm doing it?
Not really. Nope.
Okay. Well, cool.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the nice things about JSX. There are some things where you'll have to like, pass props in. Like if you have props going into your component, you can use them with like curly braces. But other than that, I mean, you really could just write normal HTML in there and it'd be totally valid.
So where does the JSX part come in? Is it just what I have wrapping it?
So JSX allows you to pass JavaScript variables into your HTML and just render them out. So normally to do something like that, you'd have to do like document get element by ID, dot inner text equals whatever, right? For this, you literally can just put like curly braces and then the JavaScript variable in like inside the curly braces, and it'll spit that out for you right away.
Okay.
Yeah. AW brings up a good point because React, instead of using class, you have to say class name with a capital N.
And Mavi said the single parent element. I think you do have to have like the single parent element.
So you can use something called a fragment, which is literally just like an opening closing HTML tag, but with nothing in there to technically do multiple parents. But yeah.
Like that. But I'm going to do section anyway. I feel like since I'm doing it anyway, it makes sense because I'm doing the about page. And then I would... It's been a hot minute since I wrote HTML. Wow. Okay. I'm going to have a nav bar. And it's going to say... No. I'm going to say it's a H1.
Perfect.
And then I'm just going to have an image for the hamburger right now, just because.
Perfect.
And then I ordinarily would just take everything and then wrap it in another section. Would that be something you would do?
So typically I wouldn't nest sections.
Okay.
Personally, I think I would actually have the nav just as its own separate thing and then have a section for the rest of your content.
So, but I would have to make that like a separate thing. So could I like hold off on that for now and then
make it a
separate thing. Like make it a component. Right?
Oh, you wouldn't have. No, you wouldn't have to.
You
can just write normal HTML in here without doing any components.
Wait, so where would I be putting the nav then?
In the same file. We can move the nav eventually. I just mean take the nav out of your section.
Oh. And put it where?
Above the section. Because if the section is going to be your content, it'll just...
Doesn't it get mad at you for having... Okay, I just erased that. Doesn't it get mad at you for having two of them?
Yes, but you can wrap it in those fragment things, and it'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you're going to see a whole lot of red here for a minute, but then if you wrap it in a fragment, you're good to go. Because what React will do is it'll just throw those out when it renders it, and it'll render the two things side by side.
Okay. So you're saying that we should just have one section for everything else, right?
I mean, you could have multiple sections. I just wouldn't have put the nav and the content all in the same section because it's not technically the same section, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just me. You can do whatever you want. It's HTML. Pretty much anything goes.
HTML isn't a programming language, Alex.
Oh, gosh.
I can't say star, but that would be the star.
What do we say about bashing languages?
Wait. I just wrote paragraph. It really has been a really long time, honestly, since I have written like any HTML. What have I been doing? I don't know. I don't remember what I've been doing with my life.
Yeah, what have you been doing? What have you been writing? Just lots of JavaScript?
I don't know. I'd have no memory of it, apparently.
Othello over and over and over again.
I just want to be able to do it in my sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you. Everyone wants to be able to code the riveting game of Othello.
Oh yeah, it's very popular challenge. Oh, leak code. I have been doing leak code. That's true.
Leak code. Oh boy, what a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. I'm a
Wow,
little
wow, 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 wow.
bitter about it,
Wow,
but
wow,
it's
wow, wow.
okay.
Yeah, leak code will beat you down.
Okay, I got rid of the
Drank.
drink.
So what I would do now
Mm.
is do exactly what I think you're about to do and just go look and check. See the progress, experience the progress.
Wow, much wow.
Much wow, very fish.
I'm very. I am a developer. I'm talented,
And you're a fish.
and I'm a fish.
But
Cool.
there you go. Looks good. You wrote a React component.
Is that like technically a React component?
Yeah. Yeah. So every page is just its own React component, which is kind of cool.
And then like if I were to break it up further, like I would make like the nav bar a component, and then you were saying making the title and the star that isn't there a component, and then
Yeah.
the rest of it would just be chilling.
Yeah, definitely. The nice thing about components and really about React is React kind of leaves you to do whatever the heck you want, which is a blessing and a curse for sure. But if you want to make the page heading a component, do it. I think it'd be nice because you're going to reuse it on every single page. But you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. It's your project. It's React.
And if I were to do something like that, it would be like you have to capitalize it, right? Okay. And like
Yep.
say something like nav and then closing tag, something like that.
I am not looking at the same spot. Right? Yeah, exactly like that. Exactly like that.
I have some memory, I guess.
See, you got this.
So but how is this different from like how it would be if it was just running in just pure React? What is Next adding here?
So first of all, you notice we could build a page. So when you went to /about, it showed up.
Oh, and
React out of the box doesn't have routing. So you have to add some sort of router. There's a couple options. React Router, I think, is the most popular at this point. Next gives you that file-based routing. Next also gives you the whole API folder that lets you run stuff on the server. React doesn't give you that out of the box. That's something you'd also have to do. So
okay.
it gives you some niceties that just means you don't have to spend 3 hours setting up your React project, because that's kind of in my opinion, one of the biggest flaws of React is if you just set it up from scratch, it has the potential to be a really tedious process.
So like then if you're making React projects and you want to use Next, like you just use Next and then you just use React and you don't have to do anything else with Next.
Yeah, pretty much. There's other plugins and other things you can do with Next, but yeah, no, you could. I mean, the two Next things that I've built, I haven't really added much on because I haven't really needed to. I've added a Markdown parser because I wanted to write my blog posts in Markdown and then have them convert over to HTML, but it was I've just used Next pretty much as it is. Yeah.
That's a lot scary or less scary than I thought it was. I was like, yeah.
It's fair in my mind. It's fairly. Do you know Node? You've written Node.js?
Yeah. Yes.
So, in my mind, Next is a lot like Express. I know, chat, it's not apples to apples, but like in my mind, you can write React and you can just write React and you can do everything Next does on your own. Just like with Node, you can do everything Express does on your own, but they just give you a little bit of a leg up. They just add the stuff that's commonly used and typically pretty easy to screw up. And they just say, hey, look, there's this easy way to do it that now, everybody's going to do it the same way. So if you have any questions, other people are doing it, as opposed to like, hey, I spun up a React project with these very specific dependencies and like no one else has the same problem you do because you built this thing from the ground up.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
To have sort of like a consistency across, or no, that was the right word, wasn't it? Consistency? Yeah. Anyway, across different apps.
Right. Yeah, it's why I love it's why I write Laravel. I like frameworks. I like having the batteries included and having things there for me already that I would just have to rebuild 100 times. Next kind of does the same thing.
Drifter wants to know how you do CRUD methods. Isn't that just in the API?
Yeah, so you could put that in the API. You could also, so in Next, there's a function you can call inside of these page components called get server side props, and you can actually run API requests to get data from a backend. So you could make a CRUD request, but you could also be, you could actually make your own CRUD API, yeah, in the API folder.
Well,
Also, I see a question about SvelteKit. Yes, identical. Well, obviously not identical, but they are the same sort of thing. Actually, my current website is written in SvelteKit, and that's part of the reason why I've moved over to Next.js so easily. It's because they're basically the same thing. And Vercel basically owns both of them now, so you can expect both of them to be developed pretty close to in parallel.
why are you changing your website again? Sorry, I can't remember.
Just wanted to redesign it, and I was like, you know what? We're just gonna do it in React. My website's kind of a test bed. Whenever I'm learning something new, I'm like, I'm gonna build my website in this because it's the one thing that I have that I could change and no one's gonna freak out about. And I just, new design. It's been 6 months. May as well redesign it.
It's been 6 months.
Okay, so listen. I had a whole stream where I was like, you know what? People are really complaining because, HTML templates suck. They're kind of the worst to have to use. And I was like, I'm going to build a web developer portfolio template, and I'm going to put it out for people to use. And by the end of the stream, I was like, crap, I really like this. I want this to be my website. And so now I'm building it to be my website. Oops.
Did you see?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
It's live.
Oh, wait a second. There we go.
That's incredible.
This is amazing. Normally I'd be
That's
scared to
actually
click
so
this,
funny.
but it's Blackboard, so
Open your mind, mega mind. That's incredible. That's an absolute W for chat tonight, folks.
yeah, it is. WebGore backer and his Megamind. Wow. If this was our stream, this would be our stream in a website.
I mean, pretty much. We're opening our minds. Mega mind.
This is fantastic. And they can have corgis on it and I don't know, all the other things we mentioned tonight.
Parrots.
Parrots. And they made it in Next.js.
Did you really? That's hysterical. I love that.
That's fantastic. What a great way to finish up stream because I think we made a component, so it's time for you to go to bed, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to build another component, I still got 15 minutes that I can hang out before I probably collapse of exhaustion.
Well, I mean, I always like having you here. So if
I appreciate that.
If we were to have a nav, could I say nav.jsx, right?
Yes. However, you do have to put it not in the pages directory.
Oh, okay.
Because if you put it in the pages directory, people can go to /nav and they'll see this and just this as a full page.
Oh, you put it in components.
Yep. So I would make a new root level folder called components, and then you can just plop that right in there. Also, AW mentioned this a little bit ago, and I actually agree. I tend to avoid naming components the same as semantic HTML tags. So capital N nav versus lowercase n nav. So I would call mine nav bars, just because otherwise it can get a little weird to look at, and some code editors can get a little weird about it and be like, this isn't an actual HTML tag or something.
So it's for clarity?
Yeah, for clarity's sake, and just, I mean, you can by all means do just a capital N nav and it will still totally work. It's just my preference to not name them the same thing.
Right. Well, it's changed. No worries. And
cool.
I still have this website open for the WebGore backer.
I love that. I just love that that's a thing. I feel like that is probably one of the biggest wins I've seen on stream so far. That's amazing.
Good job, Blackboard. I wondered where you went. Some frameworks
That's amazing.
won't even let you name them as HTML tags.
That's true. That's true. Because I think technically the HTML spec, I guess is what it would be called, is case insensitive. So like capital P tag is the same thing as a lowercase p tag. So it just gets weird. Vue is really big on that. Yeah, Vue will complain all day if you name something the same as a semantic tag. Let me show you where I get all of my icons.
Do you use Font Awesome?
No, I use Heroicons. I love it because it's literally you search for the icon you want. So I can like search for hamburger, and you can click. Oh wow, there's actually you can copy JSX, which is kind of cool. I usually just copy the SVG and plop it in there, but you can actually copy JSX, and I don't even know what copying JSX would do. So now I'm curious.
Hamburger. Oh,
so this is made by the Tailwind folks. So
okay, all right, here we go.
yeah, AW likes icons as well. That one's very good too.
Interesting looking. And then, so I said home, and we would say nav bar.
Mm-hmm.
And then if we went back to the about, which is not right, we would say import, right?
Yeah, so I think you would say import. I think VS Code can do the imports for you. So I think if you went down into the JSX and started to type navbar, it might actually do that import for you just to save you the typing.
Wow, that would be exciting.
Could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain.
Oh my god. Oh, that was very exciting.
There we go.
Wow. And that's how
Very
you would embed another component in another page, right?
Bingo. Exactly.
Oh, that was so cool.
It's really nice. It's really, really nice.
Does Vim do that?
Does Vim do that? Yeah, it actually uses the same language server protocol as
really?
VS Code. So yeah, literally everything that yours can do, mine can do too.
Well, fine. That's fine.
You've just got nice extensions and stuff. I have to like go into the terminal to install them, but I love the terminal.
I think eventually, that's a similar word, I will learn Vim. Eventually. There's so much to learn.
I think there is. Yeah, the keybinds are hard to learn. I will say my joints feel so much better since starting to use Vim and not like reaching over for the mouse. So
Never pick your hands up from the keyboard.
I love it. I literally use a tiling window manager on my Mac specifically so I don't have to touch my mouse.
Wow.
Yeah. It's the Linux nerd in me. I don't know. I just love it.
I downloaded Linux the other day and then I got really confused. But if you see at the very bottom, I have like open a remote window and it's for something Linux and I don't understand it. So
Nice.
that's cool.
Yeah, Linux is kind of confusing, to be honest, but it's getting better.
I'll get there. There really is so much to learn, honestly, though.
Yeah, and there is, and that's why it's focus on one thing at a time.
Right.
Kanban, work in progress limits. See, Kanban your life.
We could totally Kanban this right now.
We could actually. We probably should. I don't know why we didn't think about that. Literally the whole first half of the stream was agile.
Look at this giant hamburger. Wow. That's great.
That's exactly what we wanted.
Yeah, so that's
great looking nav bar.
That's the finished product. Yeah. So I would have to make a project, right?
Yeah, so it should actually be in your Git repository.
There would be a project already there?
You can make a project. I would recommend making it in the Git repository. So these projects are like global to your account, which is fine. But if you actually go into that and you click on projects,
you can add a project.
Bingo. And this is very new. So they just redid this.
Wait, it says I have to go to my profile to create a project.
What? Oh, that's sad.
So then I would just like
Maybe
associate it later,
I
right?
guess I admittedly haven't used the new GitHub projects yet, so this is kind of an adventure for me too. Oh, that's sad. Okay, so yeah, you were correct. Definitely just do it here then.
So the board, why would you use a table versus a board?
Some people like table views because they don't like seeing the actual columns. You can just see like little status updates as one of the columns. I think boards are great. I love boards.
Right, that's what the one we were looking at was.
Yeah, I almost always recommend boards because then you do get that physical movement of the card across the board. That really helps kind of cement what you're doing.
Wow, wow. Look. And
The
then,
nice thing is you can typically switch the view. So like a table can be viewed as a board and vice versa.
okay, let's see if we can. Have you had like, what is there like a, do people use like one over the other more? Have you seen that?
Like a board versus a table, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
I tend to see people who just want the overview of a project, like the big picture, will use tables because you can fit a lot more on there. Or if people are like writing out a bunch of requirements, not really caring what column they go into at the moment, they're all just going to do, they'll use a table. Typically, when I'm leading a project that's doing any sort of agile development, I'll have the developers use the columns one just to start to get the feel of it, but it's really up to preference.
It looks like you can also do Kanban in VS Code,
Oh, sweet. That'd be super cool.
according to Mavi.
Yeah, I was about to say, I feel much better that I'm not the only one who's confused by the way GitHub does this now. That's really cool. I did not know VS Code had a Kanban extension. That's awesome.
We could say make, so like if I say make like home page, right? And then
Sure.
in theory, like, so I would put it in to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if I were working on it, it would be here. And then if it were done, it'd be here after define done.
Yes.
And when,
Now, I will say too, and you'll get the feel of this as you go, you don't want to make cards huge.
oh, is that too big?
Usually, well, so usually a good a good rule of thumb that I tend to follow is that cards should take like a day or two of work to so like 8 to 16 hours to do. Typically if it's more than a day, I like to split it into at max a day. Um, but you don't want to be too small because you don't want to be like constantly having to, okay, I added this button, drag the cards across. Okay, I added this paragraph, drag the card across. So things like you could break it into um, add I don't know, add star component or even do it like responsive, be like add mobile homepage, right? Because otherwise that card would be make the homepage and make it responsive across all viewports and also make it work. And like you could just say mock it up or make functionality. It's kind of up to you. And again, it's kind of based on the project and you get used to it as you go. You start to figure out what is too big, when it's too small. Since
Okay.
it's your project, you can change tasks as you're going. Like it's not the end of the world, you know?
Yeah. So like add navbar to about page, would that be like reasonably sized or that would be kind of too small? Because that
I
wouldn't
think
take
that
a
might be
day.
too small now because I would say make the nav bar is probably a good card. Um, and you wouldn't know this, but there's a way in Next.js to actually add the nav bar to every page in just by putting it one spot. So that this would be a relatively small, like one line of code change.
Okay.
So, but you wouldn't know that because that's a very next specific thing. We could talk about that in a second too.
Driftwood says, so how would you add like on click or something like that?
In React, you mean? I assume.
I I guess probably.
Yeah, we'll go with that. So in React, there's an on-click property that you can, or excuse me, attribute that you can pass. Yep, just like that. And basically, you define a JavaScript function somewhere in your component file, and you say, on click, run this function. Really simple.
Okay. It is officially 11:30 for you. So I don't want to keep you any longer than you don't want to be here. Because
I
I
always
think,
want to be here. This is a ton of fun.
but sleep is important.
Sleep is important.
I love sleep. So, thanks for being here. This was a good
Yeah,
time.
thanks for having me. Super fun to hang out, and glad you're getting into React. You'll have to keep you posted on how it's going.
I will continue to work on this. Everyone needs to hold me to that. That I could see me not, but I will. I will.
And seriously, if you have any questions or like just want some help with this, let me know. Like just hit me up on Discord or Twitter or whatever. Happy to help.
Thanks, Alex. And everyone, go give Alex a follow or a sub. They do amazing streams. They're always a lot of fun, and they have a dog.
It's true. The
Corgi.
corgi sometimes makes an appearance. Firewall can vouch for that.
Firewall was requesting it this stream. I don't know if you saw that.
I know. I would have, but she is like, I don't think she's moved for 3 hours. Every now and again, I kind of look over. I'm like, are you breathing? Like, is it okay? She's just a real heavy sleeper. She goes to bed at like 8:30. She's like an old lady. She's a grandma, but she's only 2 years old.
Wow. That's how. Oh, she's 2. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Or maybe 3. No, my daughter's 2. She's definitely 3. I get them mixed up. The baby, the corgi, basically the same thing.
I feel like I relate to that. Like not being that old, but feeling old.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
when Megamind came out in 2010.
I know. I still can't believe that. That's unbelievable. I need to stop asking people like when things come out because I'm just sad every time.
Right. It's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine.
Yeah. It's
But
all fine.
we should stream again soon, and maybe next time we'll do
Yeah.
it on your channel if you want.
Yeah. By all means. We are just trucking away on this this portfolio. And once it's done, we're gonna do something in Laravel. We're gonna build some sort of app. Haven't decided what yet. Might actually build some plugins for this admin panel that I really like called Filament. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Driftwood, I assume you're asking me. I stream Mondays and Thursdays from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern US time.
We literally have the same days.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And almost the same times, except you're a little later than I am.
When does your stream normally start?
So on Mondays it's 4 p.m. Eastern time, and on Thursdays it's 5 p.m.
Oh, sick. Yeah, wow. Very cool.
And that's why we can raid you sometimes. Hey,
I mean, we're just there having a dang good time usually. Sometimes it's frustrating. So we've had a couple rough ones the last couple streams of things just not working, but it's okay because now we're using Next, and Next always works. That's the best thing about Next. It just doesn't break.
Really?
I have had terrible luck using like kind of not experiments, but like beta level text to try to build this website, and it's just been like crashing and burning left and right. And so we started using Next, and it's just like, yeah, got to work on some things, but you know what? It's gonna work. I'm gonna build some React thing. I'm gonna put it on the internet, and I'm not gonna touch it again for 2 months until I get bored and want to change the design again.
I aspire to get to the point in my career, my like coding knowledge to be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna like change this again just because I'm bored. It's great.
I don't know if I would aspire to that. It means I don't get a lot of other stuff done.
It means that you care a lot about about coding. That's pretty cool.
That's true. I'm also just attracted to the new shiny sometimes. But yeah, no, come on. Yeah, we'll do a co-stream, pair stream. I don't know what they're actually called. I'm not very good at Twitch, but we'll do one of these again. But yeah, we can do it. We can write Laravel stuff. I can show you around Laravel. Show you why it's like the coolest thing since Ice.
You know what? I wouldn't mind learning it. Then I would learn something different than JavaScript.
Yeah, you could enter the world of dollar signs. There's a lot of those in PHP. A lot of those in PHP.
Oh no. Okay. All right. I won't keep you any longer. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And I always like having you here.
Yeah. Seriously, anytime. Ton of fun.
Okay. All right. Well, have a good rest of your night, Alex.
All right. See y'all later.
See ya.
Bye.